So we don't need parties to tell us how to vote. And what I did, I created a candidate questionnaire, 100 or so questions. If you go to our website, you'll see that. How would you personally vote if you were in office? You may have no interest in ever serving in office, but if you're going to pick who your representative is, I want you to think through the issues and document how you would vote. Now, we're going to have to figure out who goes, and before we go, I want every one of you that completes this questionnaire to sign a legally binding agreement that says if you're the person that's going to represent your district, you'll vote exactly the way you said you would. There's no right or wrong answers. It's your platform. Vote from the heart how you think you would on each and every issue of the day, but then sign a legally binding agreement that says you'll be held accountable to your answers. How do we choose who goes? Well, that's where you guys come in. Once we get to 500,000 members, we'll randomly sort all of the participants in each of the 435 congressional districts into pools of 10. In every pool of 10, we'll sit down on one Saturday morning this spring, and among yourselves, that pool of 10 will choose the 2 best people. You'll look at each other's platforms, the questions that you answered. You'll consider their interest in serving, right? Their willingness to serve, their accomplishments in life, their communications, their personality skill. They'll consider whatever you want to consider, but each pool of 10 is going to choose 2 people. And those 2 people will advance, and the next weekend you'll have new but fewer pools of 10, and they'll choose 2, and you repeat that process 4 or 5 times until ultimately that final pool of 10 in each of the 435 districts chooses the one person, and that becomes the go candidate for their district. And then you say, okay, well, where would the money come from? And I said, that's where I've been blessed all my life to work in the right place at the right time. I don't want or need money. We have all that we need until we get to 500,000 members. Once we get to 500,000 members, our critical mass, we'll ask everybody to make a $100 donation. I have a company over here that manages the money. We'll pool that money. We'll raise somewhere between $20 and $50 million almost overnight. And we'll begin a national advertising campaign that goes like this. America, you can continue to vote for the career politicians, the same folks we've always voted for, and we'll get the exact same results. Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Or, for the first time ever, you can vote for this Go Party candidate. I just call them a Go candidate. They've documented their view on every key issue of the day. They signed a legally binding agreement that says they would vote the way they said they would. They've been chosen by their peers. They've not accepted a penny from a special interest group. They're affiliated with no party. Nobody's going to tell them what they need to do. And they're willing to go serve you for 2 years. We believe, and we've done surveys all across America in malls and phones and parking lots, 95% of the people, when asked, would you vote for this person, say, well, yeah. And the other 5% say, well, what's the catch? Right? There is no catch. Just as our founding fathers intended, we have a very simple, straightforward process that if we can get to 500,000 members, we can go and let you guys identify true citizen representatives in each district. Now people will say, why 500,000? And here's what we know. We can't run a national advertising campaign for these 435 people effectively without about $40 million. We don't want to take money from special interest groups, and we don't want to go split the vote, right? We don't want to go try to take 3% of the vote here or 5% there. But once we can get to 500,000 members, and once we start advertising this en masse across the country, we'll have 5 million and then 50 million people. Every poll that's out there says that every one of us, with a few exceptions, want to get rid of the people that are up there. There was a Rasmussen poll in August. It asked if you could remove every single member of Congress, House and Senate, would you do so? And only 24% of the people said no. Think about that number. Like 76% of us who were saying, yeah, I'm not going to. The people want to get rid of them. 85% of us disapprove of the job Congress is doing. I always like to ask this survey. Who in here approves of the job Congress is doing? Seriously, it's okay to raise your hand. Where are those 15% of the people? I've yet to find one. Now, it's interesting to kind of hear this in theory and say, okay, everyone start thinking, and the questions will start going through, and we'll address all of those questions. But what we found is if we can get people to experience this selection process, you will be absolutely convinced that this is what we should do. And so we've been traveling the country. We're about to run what we call a mock selection session. We're going to break into pools of 6, and and let you experience exactly how the selection process works. Among your group of 6, you're going to identify one person that would advance to the next round. It's a pretty exciting and energizing process, and I like to kind of relate it this way. Do you guys remember the movie Field of Dreams?
Yes.
And you remember the line? You build it, it will come. I'm convinced my purpose in life has been to build the system. That is why I'm here. And now we seek the modern day incarnations of Madison, and Franklin, and Jefferson to step out of those proverbial cornfields and go to Washington and fix this mess. It's your duty to help us find those people. Maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody you know, but we're going to find them. There's 660,000 people in every district. Think of how big that number is. We're looking for one. There's 100 people, 50 people, I don't know what the number is, in this room today that could go up there and do a better job than the people that are doing. Because you would go up there without strings attached to a party, and without debts you have to repay to those special interest groups that gave you the $1 million, and without political and career aspirations. And go, we have one plank in our platform. Every issue that's out there is up to you. We have no opinion on any issue except one, and that's term limits. You must support term limits to participate in the GO system. So when you get up there, you're just going up there at most 2 terms, and you're going to go up there, represent your district, and then you're going to come home. Now again, we don't expect many of you actually want to go to Washington. Right? Who in here is willing to go serve next year? Usually we get a few. Right? I'm going to ask you again if y'all remind me at the end, and I bet 85 or 90% of you are going to raise your hand. This is an empowering process. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break into groups of 6. You are not allowed to sit with your spouse, because I don't want to be responsible for the conversation when you get home. I strongly discourage you from sitting with your best friends or whoever you came with. This is a wonderful opportunity to meet other people and talk about issues that you probably haven't talked about in a long, long time. So if you would, we're just going to take your chairs, kind of form mini circles of 6, spread out as much as you can, sit with other people. You need a pen. If you don't have one, let us know. We'll bring you a pen, and then we'll get started.